33-story hotel and condo project.
I'd probably be
Okay,
like
like
that.
stop, tap.
This is a plan by the community for the community.
This one here. Show me.
No problem, Ken. Thanks for having me.
It's Kent Molgat for Kelowna Now. And we're thrilled to have Sarah Slean joining us here at Kelowna Now.
Hi.
So good to see you, and this sounds like an amazing show that you're a part of. First of all, tell me how this comes together. You're just arriving now.
Yes.
You do realize the show goes on the day after tomorrow. How is that even possible? I mean, for the orchestra to be prepared, obviously
This is the caliber of musician that belongs in the OSO. I mean, these people can sight read this music.
Right.
They're amazing.
So have they had some chance to sort of gel with it?
Of course. I sent because I am a perfectionist and constantly striving for better and better, all of the scores that I have that I was prepared to give the orchestra, I pulled them out and I looked at them. I was like, this could be a little bit better, and this could be a little bit better. So I took my time, and they were frantically saying, when are you going to give us the scores? We have to give the musicians the parts.
Right.
But I fixed them. I made them slightly better, and now all the musicians have the parts. I'm sure they've, gone through them, and
right.
In a few days we'll be playing them.
But so they're skilled. They can work quickly and prepare themselves for it.
Yes.
So we'll get more into the content of the show in a minute. But first, not everybody knows who Sarah Slean is.
How can that be?
So I don't know. They've been living under a rock somewhere. But I was just kind of going over the things you've done, and it's only about a 10-minute interview, so we can't mention it all. But you're a classical pianist, you're a composer, you're an actor, you are a concert pianist.
Twice. Yeah.
Did I say that twice?
You did. No, you
See?
know what? I like to just refer to myself
And you're
as-
obviously a media critic as well.
Sure. I'm an artist, right? I like to express myself.
You do like
I'm
visual.
fascinated
You do
with
visual
art.
art as well, and
I
poetry.
do, yes. I wouldn't call myself an actor anymore. I haven't acted in a very long time. And I wouldn't call myself a classical pianist anymore. I play the piano, but I know too many pianists for myself to be included in that category.
But you will play the piano in this.
Of course, yes.
Right.
Yes.
You seem to play it fairly well.
Thank you.
Not that I'm any sort of
Thank you.
critic. So, but okay, this show is going to contain never before heard music.
Yes.
Right here in Kelowna.
Yes, I've made about 11 albums, so there's a lot of music to draw from. And I mean, even from the get-go, even from my major label debut, Nightbugs, in 2002, there was a lot of orchestral flavor there. I've always been really fascinated with that big, grand sound. So I've found my way through pop music and touring and all kinds of things into the last 2 and 3 and 4 years playing a lot with orchestras and doing a lot of my own work, which is super thrilling and exciting, but also singing contemporary classical and singing some Broadway, and it's strange, but that's where I ended up. And this is my favorite thing. I mean, if you asked me 10 years ago what my favorite thing was, it would be like, oh, I love touring and I love playing with loud drums, and
Right.
And it changes. Yeah.
Right. And this will be about orchestra number 10 so you've really settled in on this. This does seem to be where you belong.
I love it so much.
You're very diverse, very eclectic, but you're starting to specialize, I think, in this, aren't you?
Well, yeah, you could say that. Just because I feel like the orchestra is so unlimited. The players are of such a caliber that really anything you can think of, they can play.
Right.
And so if you have big, grand cinematic ideas, it's possible to realize that. It's sort of difficult with a 4-piece pop band that, you throw them in a van and take them across the country. You can be very creative with that, but it's not going to come close to the sound of, 40 musicians who have been practicing for 45 years.
Right. So when people come to this show, are they likely symphony buffs that are getting to hear Sarah Slean chip in, or are they more like Sarah Slean fans who want to see you perform with a symphony?
I hope it's a bit of both. I really do. I think that's what orchestras are trying to do when they invite someone like me into their programming, is they want their subscribers, their loyal fans of the symphony, to have their eyes open to something new and not Beethoven, Brahms, and Bach.
Right.
And my fans will come and see something, totally dazzling with all these classical musicians, right?
Right.
So everybody wins, and everyone sort of gets a little bit outside their comfort zone.
Right, and this is the same symphony that just a short time ago did this John Denver retrospective, and what an amazing musician he was. And
music is music, right?
but like one forgets how many great songs he did, and
many
then
great
what an excuse to bring people who don't normally see the symphony in and are like, wow, this is great. So, and you were saying you think that symphonies should perhaps do more of this kind of thing.
Well, for sure, and I agree with you that, I mean, if you think of it as a tradition, it's extraordinarily expensive, it's so much manpower, it requires all these resources and all these people being brought together to put on a show like that. But when you get in the room with the symphony and you hear it, you understand why that tradition is still alive. And that's the reason I've recorded with orchestras before. I mean, there are samples and all kinds of technology that can mimic it quite well now.
Yes.
Very convincingly. But there's really nothing like hearing human beings play together.
No. And you know, I think I've sung in the shower a few times and imagined a symphony behind me, but what is it like for your own work?
That should be on Kelowna now.
Because
I
you
would pay good money to see that.
Because you score this stuff now and you're singing it, and a actual symphony rises up behind you like that.
It's a real struggle to actually keep your heart from leaping out of your chest so that you can actually sing and play and remember the words.
Right.
Yeah, it's very affecting. It's very powerful.
Right. Yeah. You know, I think some people think of symphony music as being classical and boring and something that maybe their grandparents liked. But they watch movies. They're hearing, I mean, you can't get away from symphonies if you want to hear drama build in. So, okay, we're in a part of town where we get the occasional ambulance go by. Maybe you could work that into a song.
Sure.
But I think there's really a symphony buff in almost every one of us.
Well, I have to say, for me, it's always been about the strings. There's something actually to do with the acoustics and the physics of the sound that comes out of a stringed instrument that is so immediately evocative. It's almost the precise mirror of the way that emotions arise in us. It's almost like if you could hear what that actually sounds like inside the body of like fear rising or love swelling or any of those things, it would actually sound like that. You know, like it's such a one-to-one ratio. And I think, you know, when you watch a film, those moments when the strings swell or whatever,
yes,
they're following you, and in some instances actually eliciting that response from you. So there's some kind of like really magical connection between the human body and the physics of stringed instruments. And I also think that's why this tradition is still alive. You know?
Right, and thank goodness it is. Okay, so this is Saturday night in Kelowna at the Community Theatre.
Yep, just over there.
Do you happen to know if there's tickets left?
I think there are, yes.
And Sunday night in that beautiful Performing Arts Center in Vernon. Have you been there before?
I've never been to Vernon, BC.
It's really a great facility there.
That's what I've heard.
So I think people are really looking forward to it, and I thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Kent. Appreciate
here
it.
on Kelowna Now.